Alright, greetings, viewers. I mean, I can come up with so many titles, right? But you guys are mostly war gamers, so hi, war gamers. But hi, fellow humans. I come in peace. And we are going to continue our game session. It's been a while since I did a last video, but I figure let's get into it. Let's take a dive into World War II again and see if we can learn anything, gain any insights, deep insights. I've played Eurofront many times before, so this is a particularly interesting playthrough, and the idea is that we play until the end. And so we're starting the December 1941 scenario, and the question becomes what will happen in the war? And so let's see, on the Eastern Front, I would call it a bit of a strategic stalemate at the present moment. The Red Army has been severely battered by the German advance, as we saw in Operation Barbarossa. Germans were able to conquer just so much territory. On the other hand, we have the Wehrmacht, and the Wehrmacht is a bit exhausted from its offensive, right? And for good reason. I mean, they conquered a vast amount of territory. And so the question becomes, what are we going to see in the transition from 1941 to 1942, especially since the Wehrmacht doesn't have favorable weather, so they don't really have, they may have the strategic initiative to some degree, but they really can't go full out offensively like they did in 1941, not until the weather becomes favorable again. While the Red Army, on their hand, they have the kind of operational advantage, but they've been severely battered. And also, furthermore, the Soviet Army is actually in what I believe to be somewhat of a strategically awkward position. They're still vulnerable, right? I mean, the German army is very close to Moscow. You've got the central sector of the front, from Moscow basically down to Rostov, which is very vulnerable in open terrain, right? At least in Moscow, you have the double defense. Also, further north, you have a lot of double defense terrain. The forest and swamp marshes kind of make it possible for the Soviets to establish a relatively effective defensive strategy in the north. And then in the south, well, the road to the Caucasus is somewhat open, but of course the German army has to overcome notable geographical barriers like the Don River, this river here, the Manich River. They're going to have to make their way down to Maikop. They need to more or less take Crimea. I believe it's optional to take Crimea, but at some point you want to try to go for it. And then, of course, eventually, you've got the Caucasus mountain range here in the south. And there's Stalingrad. So you've got like this very kind of awkward geographic peninsula that the German army needs to expand into, right? And so it's daunting, to put it lightly. It's a daunting plan to make gains and push into Soviet territory. So both sides kind of have a bit of a problem. The German army is spread thin. I mean, compared to the buildup we had in 1941 for the summer, I mean, we pretty much had 4 stacked units across all of these hexes, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, about 10 hexes, and I think almost all of them were stacked at least 3 or 4 units. So you're looking at about 30 to 40 corps available. Well, those same number of corps are now spread out across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, about double the amount of hexes. And so naturally the units are spread more thin. We've got a concentration of German units in front of Moscow. Vyazma seems to be the most well-fortified German position, or the position where the German army is most concentrated. But you have, other areas where it's really just 1, maybe 2 German units. So, both sides are kind of in what I would consider to be some kind of strategic stalemate. What we're going to do is sort the log file. Let's do that first. And I'm just going to kind of jump in and play, right? But I think what I seem to enjoy more than actually playing the game is analyzing the game, right? And so this really incentivizes me to like program the game. I would love to make a programmable version of a game like this, but I'm learning how to program. But it's going to take me some time. I'm finding that programming is a very interesting endeavor. As a creative and artistic project, I think it's really rewarding. But I also find that the syntax is somewhat tedious, and it's a bit clunky in my opinion. Maybe it's just because of how I program, but it's not like I'm writing rapid lines of code like a senior developer. But it is like, I can show you, maybe I can show you even in this video. Um, I might go ahead and do it. A little bit, a little bit of a sidetrack. Um, but I think I'm going to go ahead and show you guys just my chess. Let's see here. I have this open. But I'll go ahead and show you what I've programmed so far. I don't know if I have any programmers who are watching this video, but I figure I'll just go ahead and show you guys my work. It's a project, it's hobby more than anything. Let's see here. JS tutorial. Might be this one. No. I believe it's this one. I think it's this one here. I kind of want to show you guys the results that I have more than the actual code. Since this video is more about a visual, kind of a visual experience, I think it makes more sense for me to show you what I've done rather than show you like the behind the scenes. Here we go. So it is not opening at the present moment. That's an oopsie daisies. As far as like trying to debug, that's what a programmer, that's what a developer would call debugging. I'm not sure. I haven't inspected it in quite some time now. I think it's here. This is it. There we go. I opened up the wrong file. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. This is basically, I created a chessboard. It's not very pretty, in my humble opinion. But the idea is, I'm still trying to learn how to click and drag pieces, but I figured out how to make a chessboard for starters. And then I'm thinking maybe what we can do is create a programmable Axis and Allies. I mean, this actually already exists. For many years, I played the online versions of Axis and Allies, but like make a programmable version of that would be nice. Work my way up to that. I was hoping to jump straight into Eurofront, but it might be too difficult. But I think it would be more rewarding to do Eurofront first. But it may be too difficult, unfortunately. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is this is where I am in my programming journey, creating the board, which I think is a really actually nice foundation to have. But of course, you want to be able to, have pieces, move and drag pieces that are bound by like rules, like logical rules, algorithmic rules, and the same structure basically applies to a game like Eurofront. I think that would be a requirement if you want to actually do some kind of data analysis using this game, and see like casualties. I mean, you've been seeing in my game so far that I've been tracking the casualties manually, but like we could definitely use programming, and software to calculate this for us, right? It's very possible. I know it can be done, but it's like, I could either hire someone to do it or I could do it myself. And I figure it's going to be worth learning how to do it myself, but it will take some time. So anyways, but I gave you an assessment. Basically, the German army is twice as spread out. We're going to start the file with the Soviets, and we're going to jump in and play. But like I've said before, I think my favorite part of a game like Eurofront is the analysis more than the actual game itself, because you can play this game, 1,000 different ways, and the mechanics are more or less the same, right? And it's kind of random. So I just wanted to point that out. I think what we're going to do first with the Soviets is that we're going to attack the Germans, and we're going to be creative. I learned this from one of the Eurofront players, who was really, really creative in how they played the Soviets, and I think that's kind of that's kind of the overall lesson I have right now with the Red Army, is learning how to be creative. And so we're going to activate Stavka. Stavka is only at level 2 right now. But I'm going to zoom in. We're going to activate Stavka. It is winter, by the way. So I should have the winter marker there. Yep, there it is. It would be kind of cool, like if you had a Hearts, like in Hearts of Iron, where the front kind of becomes winter. But for some reason, I've looked at Hearts of Iron. I've tried to like get into the game. There's so many mechanics to the game. Number one, I'm just not interested in learning all those mechanics. Number two, I'm not really impressed by the animations. They seem kind of cartoony to me, and I feel like it kind of takes away from like a historical flavor or some kind of like military history kind of immersion. And so I kind of like this game more, or at least I seem to be, because I mean the units themselves. I mean, you've got these X's, you've got these cores, and so on. Activating Stavka. I'm also going to activate this southern HQ, and we're going to do an amphibious invasion here. And the idea is that we're going to cut off this German army group south, at least temporarily, briefly, and that's how we're going to inflict casualties. Is try to cut them off. So this unit, I think we're going to have it land, do an amphibious invasion and land near Zaporozhye. And we're going to land there. And the idea is we can cut off this supply zone here at Losovaya. And this area is going to be a contested hex, so it's neither going to be German or Soviet controlled. So that's one move we're going to do. And then the other move, we can do several moves actually. But the idea is to cut off the supplies of, we should probably land in Mariupol. Because right now, Stalino acts as a supply source for the units at Rostov. That's where the main concentration of Army Group South is. And so we would ideally pin down Stalino, or pin down Stalino and Mariupol. It would have been nice to do a paratrooper operation, come to think of it. I think our paratrooper unit is right now located in Ryazan. It's not anywhere in the south, but ideally we would have had it land in Mariupol. And that would have helped to kind of cut off the supplies of the units in Army Group South. So we cut off this rail link in Losovaya. Next, we're also going to attack Kharkov. And so that's going to be a supreme move. We're just going to move this infantry unit forward. That's one. I think we're going to go ahead and move this cavalry corps forward into Izium. Right there. And then, obviously the Germans are going to be able to restore supplies. All they need to do is recontest Losovaya. So like I said, ideally we would have pinned down Stalino as well. Or at least had a paratrooper unit land in Losovaya. This is where like the fog of war really plays a big part in all of this. But I think that's what we're going to do for now. And then I think might as well continue with the attack and just try to pressure, the German army in as many places as possible. I think we'll have this 4th Corps Soviet shock army move to basically north of Kharkov. It's putting some strategic pressure on the. Oh, we have another shock army here. That's really nice. It's really cool to see. You know what? I'm actually going to go ahead and save that shock army. We're going to go ahead and just attack with the 6th Army instead. And then, our line is very vulnerable, so ideally we kind of have another unit reinforce Belgorod. I would think would be the best move. And we really don't have too many other. I mean, these other Soviet units, obviously we can try to move them around, but I'm thinking I'm thinking it's best that we keep these units just like building up their health. We should probably save this attack. I'm actually thinking now that the attack is a little too soon. We're kind of jumping the gun here, but I've already committed to the operation, so I don't want to kind of delay it any further. So we have one more strategic move. I think we'll go ahead and move this 8th infantry unit by rail. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. All right, that's 4 strategic moves, right? 3 attacks, 1 transfer, and that's all she wrote as far as strategic moves go. Now we could also go ahead and activate the Western HQ and attack the Germans here at Vyazma. I think we're going to go ahead and do that. And the idea is to attack in multiple places at once. And in this way, we can kind of overwhelm the German forces wherever possible. We're only going to attack in one area. I'll move up this 24th Army. It's a very strong unit. And then go ahead and deploy the Western HQ here. This airborne unit is actually going to be really, really, really valuable. So try to figure out what to do with it. I guess I'll go ahead and deploy Stavka there. No. I'm going to go ahead and deploy Stavka here. Move the airborne unit up. And we're going to try to put some pressure on Army Group Center. But, frankly, the German army looks to be in pretty good health. But the good news is that it's hard for the German army to attack, so we can kind of, we have a little bit of leniency there. We're kind of taking a gamble with Tula. I really hope I'm not overstretching my Soviet forces. Very possible that I am. 'Tis the nature of the Red Army. Just super undersupplied and stretched thin almost at all times, at least in this early period of the conflict. So that's it. That's it for the Soviet turn. We'll go ahead and put an airstrike marker here at Vyazma, supported by the Western HQ. Only 1 airstrike, and let's see how this battle goes. Maybe we score some good hits. You never know. Ooh, the Germans are very well fortified here. And so we'll start with the fortress, rolling triple fire. They score 2 hits. Ouch. Then we've got Panzer Corps and Met Corps scoring another 2 hits. Ouchie, ouch. And then we got the infantry scoring 2 more hits. Super ouch. Alright, and like that, Soviet attack is pretty much grounded down to a halt. I don't think they're going to be able to sustain this offensive any further because their units are almost at breaking point. They're not at cadre, but they're definitely like low in morale and have sustained significant casualties. We can actually calculate how many casualties they sustained. Each step is presumably about 25,000 troops. So you're looking at about, 6 times 5 times 25, about 150,000 casualties. That's pretty substantial. I forgot to actually do the airstrike, so I guess I'll roll that. So it's missed with the airstrike. 6 double fire dice. Let's see what we can do. Scoring 2 hits. Alright, so we scored 2 hits. Not bad. One against the Panzer Corps. Another one against the infantry. The Germans sustained about 44,000 casualties. So you're looking at about a 3-to-1 casualty ratio there. Definitely part of the Soviet meat grinder, which is what historically was the Rezhev Vyazma salient was known for in that transitionary period following the Soviet winter offensive. So we're seeing that now. The Soviets are, obviously conducting the offensive, but this time the German army is dug in, right? They didn't actually try to attack Moscow. So, I would say well done for the Germans as far as defensive positions, but of course they lost the initiative, but they didn't, they're not experiencing a catastrophic Soviet counteroffensive where their units are spread thin. They're pretty dug in well. We'll go ahead and do these two battles over here. The Romanian Third Army rolls, scoring a hit. Soviets roll. Ooh, and they score a hit as well. Nice. So even casualty rate there. The Romanian army is 44,000 troops per step. The Soviets are 25, so the Soviets actually scored more casualties there. It's a ratio about 3-2 in the Soviets' favor. Battle of Izium, one hit for the German 16th Corps, and then the 5th Cavalry Corps of the Soviets scores no hits. And now we can check for supplies, right? We can use a railhead marker to indicate where the German railhead, where the supply railhead is. There's one at Krasnograd and Dnipropetrovsk. And there's actually technically one at Kharkov as well, still. But basically, all these three German units over here are now out of supplies. Boom. Out of supplies. So what does this mean? It means that these units are going to sustain casualties. I don't know what the casualties really indicate here because, it's not like there's any combat going on at the strategic scale, but maybe we can think of it as like, some kind of operational or tactical fighting along this front. Presumably, though, the Germans didn't cross the river, or excuse me, the Soviets didn't cross the river. So I'm not really sure. Maybe it's artillery strikes. I doubt that. Maybe air strikes. I doubt that as well. So obviously the casualty mechanics a little inaccurate because like how can there be casualties if there was no combat? But presumably it's a loss of equipment, right? So 22,000, or in this case it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 22 times 6 is something like 132,000. So it's a significant amount of German casualties. So I'm not exactly sure, what the casualties would mean in this like case. It's kind of a difficult interpretation given the nature of the game. But presumably, the Germans lost a fair share of equipment somehow. It doesn't make sense, actually. The more I think about it, the less I'm able to make sense of why these units sustain casualties. And I think the short answer is, if we can use this Battle of Stalingrad analogy here, it basically means that the troops were starving. The horses died. The equipment failed, and maybe these casualties are not KIA necessarily, but they're WIA in the form of frostbite. That might be the best analogy there. And so, in other words, we said 132,000 cases of frostbite maybe is what occurred here, possibly, just a very poor supply system here, and that might be the best interpretation. I like that interpretation quite a bit. I think that makes more sense. So, altogether, I mean, even though the Soviets sustained pretty heavy casualties here in the north or in the center, the Germans have their own problem here in the south. So I think it was a cool move on the part of the Soviet army. We're now going to switch over to the Axis. Make sure I finish the Soviet turn by deactivating all the HQs that were being used. Those were deactivated. Awesome. All right, we're going to switch over to now the German side. I don't know how long I'm going to go for this log file. I'm thinking maybe do ideally 1 or 2 fortnights, I think, or 1 or 2 months would be nice. I probably won't be able to finish the entire winter campaign in this video because this game, I can explain myself, but as you can, if you can't tell already, I find that going deep is the way to go. It's nice to go deep. So when you go deep, you kind of have to go slower. There's more information to process, and so recovering analysis, trying to interpret the game, kind of in a historically artistic manner, in a sense. Maybe not artistic is not the right word, but it's like historically enriching manner, and trying to treat this as if it's a kind of what if you will. And I think what ifs are pretty cool. I remember getting this book that had all these interesting what ifs. The most famous one of which is what if the German army didn't attack Kiev in 1941 and decided to go for Moscow. And I think the shorter answer was that it would still lead to some big problems, as my understanding. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and hide all the defending German units in their defensive positions, and we're going to see how the German army is going to respond to the strategic situation that's been presented before them. So let's see. Let's see what we do. I think the first thing to do is we are going to go ahead and activate OKH. Maybe not. I'm actually going to keep OKH as kind of a strategic reserve. But I think we don't have a choice. I think we do need to activate OKH because we need to restore the supply situation right now. And the only way that's going to work is if we have a unit in WWII. So we may need to pull back. We may need to attack. The problem is that the German army has no reserves. There's no units right now in the basically the what is it, the Donetsk Industrial Basin. All we have is Army Group South and HQ unit. We don't have actually any combat units in this sector. All of them were located. The main strength was located at Rostov. So it's going to be kind of a mess to pull our units back, and we can't really do that too many rail moves, unfortunately. So it's definitely a sensitive strategic position. I think I may have to yeah, I think we're gonna do just a full-on strategic withdrawal with the German army. I'm gonna activate not Stavka, OKH. Go ahead and pull back this Romanian unit. We're going to move this unit by rail, put it in Dnipropetrovsk. I think we're gonna maybe even abandon Kharkov. That's what I'm thinking. Kind of a strange move. I say we hold the line in Kharkov as much as we can. But like we definitely need to pull back these units over here because of the supply situation. Definitely kind of an awkward strategic situation. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, oh man, I'm going to go ahead and deploy Army Group South over here, and we're going to pull back. It may mean having to abandon Rostov, unfortunately. I think we're going to just leave a small reserve. So hold on. I did 1, 2, 3. Oh no, these are all operational moves. All right, that's good. But the problem is that we still have no units in Lozovaya, which is why I think we should abandon. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. Oh, we can't even. Oh my gosh, we can't even retreat to Lozovaya. Oh, this is actually much more complicated than I realized. I thought it would be if the Germans had the the situation locked down, but the reality is that they don't. I think what I'm going to do is also I think on the next turn the situation should be dealt with. Question is where to transfer our units. So I did 2 strategic moves. Maybe I should play with a timer. Guess I'll go ahead and move this unit by rail. Put it in Krasnodar, or Krasnograd rather. And yeah, we may actually end up losing Rostov, unfortunately. But at least all the other units should be oh man, we couldn't even attack that Soviet unit, dang it. So actually, this core, that doesn't matter, fortunately. Alright, so I think, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and transfer another infantry unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that. Establish another, basically a secondary defensive line. So that's 4 strategic moves, and then the last one I'll do is I'll swap out this infantry unit for this infantry unit, and that is 6 strategic moves. For the Germans, we'll go also make an attack on Murmansk, since I'm pretty sure this HQ is not affected by the winter. Don't know if the Finnish want to do anything. I don't think so. Not yet. No, there's no need to do any moves with the Finnish. And then as far as the Western Front, we definitely want to keep our eyes open on the Western Front. So that's the Eastern Front. Oh yeah, the British made a landing here. It's kind of cool. For now, I don't think there's anything we have to do on the Western Front. I think we got a decent defense there. Oh, maybe we should. Yeah, no, we're actually gonna go ahead and activate OKW, and we're gonna try to transfer units to the Eastern Front. That's the idea. So I'm gonna send this corps in there, and then I'll pull out another corps like so. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 3 moves. Dang it. Oh, actually, we can't do that. I'm going to cancel that. Now, go ahead and activate OKW, but we need more ground units. You know, we've got some militia, but, you know, like, I want to transfer the 13th Corps and 27th Corps to the Eastern Front as soon as possible. But the problem I'm seeing is that, you know, we don't have enough units left behind at the moment. So I guess nothing for OKW. And then the Mediterranean front is looking pretty good right now. The Axis have a pretty strong presence. The units are building up. The British never made a move, didn't launch an Operation Compass, but the British do have an assembly in Egypt. So they kind of are assembling a task force, British 8th Army basically, or its equivalent, here in the Mediterranean front. We're going to go ahead and activate the Theater HQ. We're going to move this Field HQ to El Alamein. And like so, we kind of have an assembly of units. That's it. Not that many British reinforcements. We kind of need more British units if we want to push forward and invade Libya. But that's it for the British on the Mediterranean front. Nothing on the Western front. Kind of a defensive posture right now in this contested region in Caen, basically part of Normandy. And that is it. Moving on to the next 4 knights. So cool turn, really cool, really exciting turn. More fun than I thought it would be. All right, and so now we can go back to the Soviets. I don't think, even though the Germans' army has pulled back, I don't think the Soviets can actually exploit the situation because Theater HQ is a level, it's under strength, is a level 1, and you know, we don't really even have any level 2 HQs, so I think the Soviets are going to pass. We'll go back to the Axis, namely the Third Reich. And, oh, we got to check the supply situation. Oh, so wait a minute. This unit, yeah, these 3 units are still out of supplies. So the Germans are going to take, oh, we didn't actually deactivate this HQ. Oops, I meant to deactivate it and send it back to Stalino. Yeah, we want that to be back to Stalino, because otherwise it's going to be out of supplies. But these 3, the Germans basically sustain another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically another 110,000 casualties as far as frostbite. So 250,000 troops sustained frostbite because of this Soviet attack. Very well done for the Soviet army. Yeah, that's definitely a messy situation for the Germans. We're going to go ahead and activate OKH one more time. And this time we are going to go ahead and make some strategic moves to pretty much pin down. Oh, this Soviet unit actually would have been out of supplies. Very reduced by 1 because it has no supply, has no port. So now we're going to go ahead and attack that unit. The only unit that's able to attack is this. Oh, and these units are also out of supplies, weren't they? No, they're in supplies. They are in supplies. Never mind. But basically, yeah, we want to attack. The only unit that can attack effectively is this mountain core. So we'll do that. That's 1 move. And then we'll go ahead and do like 2, 3. And I think like with that, the supply situation will be restored. So that's the good news. And then as far as any more strategic moves we can do, we could do more strategic moves, but I kind of don't want to activate any more German HQs. I kind of want to keep them preserved as much as possible and focus on basically replacing casualties. That's kind of the idea. So we did 1, 2, 3, and then one more strategic move we can do. Go ahead and move this core to, I think it's Vorshilovgrad. Yeah, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll go ahead and attack this Soviet amphibious unit. No hits, and with that, we have ourselves conclusion. Okay, nothing on the Mediterranean front from what I understand. What about the Western front? Nothing there as well. Okay, so we'll switch over to the British. And we'll go ahead, I think the British are going to advance. We'll go ahead and activate 21st HQ. And these units are going to make a move to Solun. And the idea is that we basically kind of move this unit to Basra. Or no, Abadan, I believe is better. We could do a, Middle East uprising. But I kind of don't want to do anything like that with the Axis until we actually have a chance of changing the Mediterranean situation. So we're going to now switch to January, and we're going to go ahead and start with British production. The Mediterranean front, I believe, is at 25. According to what I have calculated here, it's at 25. So that's 5 dice. That's 9, 15, 16, 17. That's at 17 production points. Go ahead and build up this HQ, and then build up this armored core. What about the Western Front production? It's going to be at, I believe, 17 for the British. What do the British want to build up? We're looking pretty good with the British, actually. A lot of full strength units I'm seeing. Can we build up any more? No, there's really nothing more to build up. That's really interesting. So we're going to go ahead, and what I'll do is I'll save the British production for February, and it's going to be 17 production points. All right. And then that's it for the British. Forgot to deactivate this Axis HQ. We'll now switch to the Axis, do their production. I think I'll go ahead. We'll see how many turns I can do. I might do another turn or two, another month or two rather. We'll start with the Mediterranean front production. It's just easier for me to keep track of. Same as the British, right? 25. Ooh, the Axis gets some nice rolls. So that's 15, 19, 21 production points altogether. They'll build up this unit. That's 9. And then I think we'll build up... was this 9? I believe it's 9. Let me confirm that. Mediterranean, yeah, it's 9. Plus this here, that's another 10. That's 19. And then we'll toss out the remaining 2. Yeah. But like, ideally, this that field HQ should be built up, or theater HQ should be built up. It's not good to have it at level 0 like that. So you know what? I'm actually going to cancel that HQ build. I'm going to go ahead and build up this unit, and then I'm going to build up this militia unit as well. Like so. Alright, so, that's it. Western Front production, very important. It's at 22. We're going to build up as many militia units as we can. Going to build up this. What is this? Armored units. That's 8. Now we're down to 14. Build up this militia. This militia. Now we're down to 8. And I think if I can build up 2 infantry, that would be ideal. Guess I'll build up this militia. That's going to bring us down to 5, and then build this guy up here. Boom. Check for reinforcements for the Germans. Nothing until April. Okay. Eastern Front production, very interesting for the Germans. Really strong production. It's a solid 80 right now. And so we're going to go ahead and build up OKH. So that's 15. Build up Army Group South as well. So now that's 30. We have 50 production points left. And I think we're going to focus on building up all these other units here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 6 is 34. So that leaves us with 16 production points left. Pretty much replacing all those cases of frostbite that we got. Build up this infantry unit. And I think we're going to build up these 2 infantry units here. And then we'll go ahead and build up. We got one more. Build up this Romanian unit. Go ahead and cancel this 50-second build. And instead, no, we'll keep it. No, we'll go ahead and build up this 12 here. So it's interesting, you know, you can there's a lot of different styles to setting the German reinforcements, which is actually a really interesting thing to model. I would love to model someday just like the way reinforcements arrived at these units. But I'll tell you now, trying to find the data has been, you know, not easy or obvious. You've got these like secondary sources, a lot of history books, and you know the data is there, but it's kind of fragmented. You know, so like, you know, it's kind of like all over the place, right? And you kind of get bits and pieces of data, but it's not like you're getting consistent data of every unit type, getting reinforcements like, you know, like on a month to month or week to week basis. You're not. But I know that like historians like TIK, the Imperial Knight, you know, he has the Stalingrad series, which is like probably the best series of Stalingrad on the on YouTube, and therefore like on the internet. And he, you know, he covers Stalingrad. He almost covered all of it. He kind of stopped the series in the kind of the late stages of the battle when the Soviet offensives kind of stalled out. But I would say, as far as tracking the reinforcements, it's fascinating and still very interesting to cover. But he has a lot of information, a lot of data on the rate of reinforcements, and he seems to kind of like find a way to sort of like synthesize the data from all these different sources that he read. He had a bunch of books, a bunch of different books and different sources he used to kind of collect all the data, create a consistent video. I think the videos are great, but I would say what's a lot better is if you had a accessible database, basically, that, you know, which is, you know, publicly available, would be just very informative, I think. So anyways, not anyways, but anywho, rather, or anywho, we will see if that ever happens in my lifetime. We're gonna have to wait and see. But like I say, I mean, I think it'd be just fascinating. But like I say, the data is really, really, really like scattered, so it's not easy to find. So it's really from what I understand, it's a data engineering problem, because you've got to like organize the data and find the data and like translate the data before you can even analyze it, basically. So that's it for the German turn. We'll go ahead and now do the Soviet turn. And the Soviets have interesting production as well, especially because they're trying to achieve offensive operations. 53 production points altogether. Go ahead and build up these 2 HQs. Pretty much going to focus on Soviet HQ builds right now, as many as possible. 3 Soviet HQ builds seems pretty good to me. That's 30, leaving us with 23 production points left over. Go ahead and build this guy up. Now we're down to 21. Make sure that all the all the Soviet units along the sector are kind of nice and healthy. So now 19, 17, 15, 13. What else? What other units can we build up? We still have a lot of production left. Oh, I built this guy up. Down 11. Down to 8. 6. Probably should build up casualties, right? Actually, no, the Soviets actually built up their whole force pool. That's really good. So we're down to 6. Down to 4. I'll build these two guys up. All right, there we go. Very nice. All right, so we can start with January. And what do the Soviets want to do? I think the wisest move right now would be to probably continue putting some kind of pressure on the Germans along this sector over here, especially now that the Germans sort of pulled back. I think it's time that we exploit that pursuit. So we're gonna send this corps in. We're gonna make an attack here and see if we can get some casualties. So there's that. I could try to make a pursuit on Voshilivgrad, but I think I want to advance a bit more cautiously if I can. So what I'll do is we're gonna send these 2 units into Rostov, then move this unit to Kamensko. It's 1, 2, 3. And then I think this mech corps also into Kamensko. So that's 4 strategic moves overall. And let's see if it works. We're gonna have to wait and see. We do have a reserve. That unit at Stalingrad should be at level 2, not level 1, in my opinion. But that's it. And then I think it would be wise if we pull back from Vyazma while we still have the chance, and then try to renew the attack later on. So we'll pull these 2 guys back. There, and there, and there. The armored unit presumably is the last one to pull back, and since the German units can only move at 1 because of the winter paralysis, which is in effect right now, there will be no pursuit fire. So I would say, oh, wait a minute, we probably need to, go ahead and, I know what I'll do. I'll move this unit here. Pull these guys back there. There we go. That's pretty good. Pretty good withdrawal, and still kind of like a strong, stable line along the front. No airstrikes, nothing like that. Yeah. All right, we'll switch over to the German turn now. And this unit's going to be out of supplies. I wonder if it would have been out of supplies in the last turn. I think actually it probably should be removed already, because it would have been out of supplies. Oh, we didn't do the battle here at Rostov. Let's see how that goes. Ooh, the Germans scored 2 hits. Soviets score nothing. So Rostov still holds. Oh, we didn't even do the battle. Oops. I'm going to have to switch back to the Soviet side. We did not do the battle over here. Maybe we could have added air support. This battle of northwest or northeast of Stalino. I'm sure there's a town there, but it's not on the map. Okay, airstrike. Soviets score a hit. Germans roll. They score 2 hits. Very nice. Okay, then we're going to roll. Soviets roll. They score another hit. So pretty even exchange there of casualties. And that's good for the Soviets because it means that, you know, the Soviets are able to sustain their strategic initiative, which is kind of cool. All right, now we can switch back to the German side. All right, and what are we going to do? Ideally, do a strategic move and like transfer this, basically this entire German infantry army to the front. They're not going to get there by rail, but I think we're going to hold off on that because OKH is not at full strength. Now I'm wondering if I can do moves over here. I think it's time that we activate OKW, and we're gonna do some transfers over here. So I'm actually gonna move this militia unit to Saint Malo. The idea is that, you know, the entire coast is contested with some kind of division. Then I'm gonna move this militia units. No, I kind of want a full strength infantry unit in the Netherlands. Okay, so that's 1, 2. We just need more units, unfortunately, on the Western Front. Alright, so I think this unit, I'm actually going to have it move to Saint Nazaire. And then we're going to have this unit move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 8 like that. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 strategic moves so far. And then we can now move these 2 corps. 4, 5. So what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more strategic move left. And what I'll do is, I think I'll pull out one of these German infantry units, like so. And the idea is that we can start building up as many units as we can to launch a counteroffensive rather, at Khan. Alright. Khan! Right. Alright, as far as the British, yeah, I think it's time that we attack Tobruk. So we're going to make an attack on Tobruk. Pretty much send in all our mech units and armored units there. Germans are out of range right now, so we have an opportunity to attack, so we're going to go ahead and take that opportunity. Let's look at the British air support. I think it's at double fire. Starting in winter, yeah, it is double fire. Do I have any markers indicating air support? Don't. We can change that. Somewhere over here. I think I passed it. Here we go. It's going to be a double fire. And then the Axis, I believe, are also double fire. Verify that. Axis Western Front is double fire. Yep. It's also going to be double fire. And then Axis on the Eastern Front, I believe, is also double fire. And then we have the Soviets, which are fascinating faction. There we go, also double fire. All right. And so that's it for the Soviets, or for the Axis as well. I think we also finished up the British, right? We're attacking Tobruk. Let's see how this goes. Airstrikes, no hits. No hits from the Tobruk defenders. The armor rolls. We only score 1 hit because the mech units have double fire while attacking. So it was a failed attack. But Tobruk is under siege, and we will now move on to the next fortnight. Switch over back to the Soviets. Let's see what the Soviets do. I think the Soviets are going to pass this turn. Pretty uneventful turn. Namely because we don't have that many HQs. It's the main problem. Yeah, we just don't have that many HQs. We'll switch to the Axis. I think the Axis are also going to pass on this turn. The situation in the south has been stabilized. Situation in the center is stabilized. Like I said, or as I've implied, the Soviet casualties were just brutal in the 1941 offensive. I have notes on that. I didn't calculate how much the actual total amount of manpower. Well, we can calculate that now. Soviets are 74 plus 21 plus 28. I'm going to have to pull out the calculator on this one. It's 74 plus 21 plus 28 times 25,000. And let's see, I think it's like 1 million casualties. I may have to use my phone. Yeah, it's 3 million casualties. So it's substantial. But as far as fighting, in other regards, I mean, we're not seeing like a massive Soviet winter offensive like we saw historically, which suggests that the Soviet casualties have been worse than what was historically, or something. There must have been some kind of change. Maybe my model is not the most accurate, right? It is a model at the end of the day. But I think the Axis are going to pass. I mean, I think the main focus for the German army is to build, and prepare for 1942 summer offensive. And the idea is that the offensive is big. We'll now switch over to the British. Oh no, before we do that, make sure that I deactivated OKW. That's one thing. And then nothing else on the Western Front. And then as far as the Mediterranean Front, we're going to go ahead and activate this Africa HQ. And we're going to start getting these units on the move. Still a little bit out of range, unfortunately. We may not be able to get in time to save Tobruk. But the idea is that we get this Axis kind of desert army on the move to save the 10th Italian army, which is under siege right now. But as you can see, the Africa Corps, which actually technically right now is comprised of 2 corps, according to what I have here. It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take at least another turn before we can get in range. We can definitely accelerate that. But we'll go ahead and switch over to the British. And I think the British are going to pass this turn right now. No need to do any further attacks. So we'll go ahead and switch over to February and do the production. I think the British do get a reinforcement right now. The U.S. 5th Corps arrives. I think it can only arrive in major ports, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll go ahead and put it in Portsmouth. And let's see, as far as British production, it's 17, or actually 34 on the Western Front. Build up this airborne unit, that's 12. We're going to build up this, basically, what is the AF? I think stands for Allied Force. So, you know, that's 22. That leaves us with 12 more. I think we're going to transfer that. I wonder if the Soviets received anything. No, they didn't. We're in February, right? For March. We're going to transfer that to March. And basically try to give the Soviets a bit of extra lend-lease. And then that's it for the British. We got to do the production in the Mediterranean front. That's 10, 12, 13 production points. Not a whole lot. I'm going to go ahead and build up this HQ and ignore the 3. Then we're going to switch now to the Axis production. Western Front production takes priority. We have 22 production points rather, if I'm not mistaken. That's 22. I'm going to build up this OKW. That puts me down to 12. And then with the remaining 12, we definitely want to build up this armored units and build up this infantry units. Yep. All right. And then the Eastern Front production at 80 again, building up OKH. We're going to go ahead and build up Army Group A. Actually, we'll keep it at 0. We're going to build up Army Group South instead. More effective that way. That leaves us with 50. Now that leaves us with 44, so we can build up 11 steps, or almost 11 steps. 11 infantry steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe we should build up a fortress unit. I think we'll keep it at level 2. 7, 8, 9. I think I can do a little bit less commenting. I don't have to do too much commenting, like saying every single thing. But pretty much just transferring German reinforcements. Soviet turn. We're going to go ahead and just, again, focus on building up the 3 Soviet HQs with the idea that we can spend them while we still have the winter turn. Let's build up all these other units. So 53 down to 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Thirteen, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Nice. All right. So yeah, we could try to continue attacking with the Soviets. I think we should. I think it's the best move. And just keep putting pressure on the German army as much as possible. Even if our units are like really under strength, I want to have some kind of strategic initiative right now. I'm going to go ahead and activate Stavka. We're going to pull out the 34th Corps from Rostov. It's 1, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 3 strategic moves. And then kind of want to have another unit at Kupiansk in case the Germans decide to counterattack against this cavalry. Maybe we pull back the cavalry. Not a bad idea. And I'm thinking we should probably attack again at Vyazma. Give it another shot. Or not. Not really sure what to do there. Attack, don't attack. Because the attacks are kind of costly for the Soviets. And it's like, I mean, we could spend all those resources on attacking, or we could try to just build up, and build a massive Soviet army for 1942. I think try to pretty much beat the German army in the war of attrition. It is kind of a war of attrition, the Eastern Front, and it's like you kind of want to have favorable odds. And it's also kind of a unit thing too, right? Because, the Soviets and the Germans have pretty much equal number of units. I think the Germans have a little bit more, so it's kind of like a game of trying to match we'll pull out this cavalry. Trying to match the Germans, basically. So anyways, we got a number of attacks going on in the south. Unfortunately, we don't have Stavka to be in range to provide air support, which is kind of a dang shame. It would have been nice if it was in range. I don't think we're going to make any more attacks in the center. I think we're going to focus on building up reserves instead. I think it would be nice if we build up a mech force, or maybe we'll focus on armor. I think we should build up the mech first, then the armor, right? Would make the most sense. And just take advantage of that Soviet ability to build up reserves. And we're probably going to have to spend it on HQs anyways. Anyways, we're going to attack here. So we score 1 hit. And that is it. We also have another attack here at Vodoshilograd. Germans have a very strong defense. Yeah, and they score 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4. So heavy casualties for the Soviets. And so now, I think it's time that the Germans launch their counterattack. We're going to go ahead and activate Army Group South. And we're definitely, I think if we decide to blitz, which we could do, we would be able to effectively counterattack. So let's do that. We're going to blitz. We're going to send this infantry forward, this guy down south, this guy this way. Actually, no, we'll move this guy this way as well. Oh, and those Soviet units should be hidden. But yeah, we're going to blitz airstrike marker here. And see how the battle goes. Scoring 1 hit. Soviets are able to score a hit as well. Single fire die rolls for the Germans. Scoring 2 hits, and just like that, we didn't even need to blitz. We wipe out the equivalent of a whole Soviet army and the supporting mech corps that it had. Or, supporting mech corps. Total casualties there for the Soviets is about 9 times 25. It's substantial. It's, I think, calculated as 225,000 casualties. So in other words, despite the Soviets' success at cutting off the German logistics, the Soviets have sustained casualties similar in scale to the German casualties, which is kind of interesting. All right. So that's the first phase. We'll do the blitz phase now. It's also, I should be clear, these HQs are disrupted. And so we're going to send this unit forward. And then we're going to send... Could send a Panzer Corps in. But I think it makes more sense to send mech units. Kind of want to keep the mech corps. Well, we just need to achieve a defensive operation. We don't really need to attack. Soviets are pretty strong there. It's a pretty even battle. We have 10 steps. They have 8 steps. They do have a double fire, so it's more like 11 steps. So the Soviets have a slight advantage. And it's like, do I want to gamble and attack? We also have an airstrike. It's kind of a 50-50 chance, right? As far as success. I think we're going to go for the counterattack. And see what we are able to achieve. And we're also going to counterattack at Izium as well. So let's see how these battles go. We're going to attack. We have an airstrike. Might as well use it. Attacking Izium. We score 1 hit. Very nice. Now attacking this sector. Airstrike. Scoring the hit. Excellent. Soviets are going to roll. Scoring no hits. And now the Germans roll. That's 4-1. 4-3-2-1. Scored 2 hits. Very nice. So yeah, we're able to blunt the nose of this Soviet advance against basically the 2nd Shock Army and the supporting cavalry corps. Of course, our HQ is completely depleted, pretty much. So we're not gonna see attack like that anytime soon, but we definitely, I think by launching a counterattack like that, we're kind of able to stall the Soviet offensive effectively. So very interesting turn. And then we could, did I do Mediterranean front production? I don't think I did for the Axis. No, I don't think I did. I tend to do that a lot. I tend to forget certain production. It's 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. Very easy production there. Build up the HQs. And so now, what I think I'm going to do is try to launch an offensive operation in the Mediterranean front and on the Western front, both. We got to roll for weather on the Western front, don't we? Because it's February. And so it's 50-50 now. It is clear weather, so if we wanted to, we could try to launch a counteroffensive against the beachhead at Cannes. The problem is that we don't have a full-strength HQ there yet. We do have this armored unit though. So what I'm going to do is use OKW to actually move Mediterranean front units at half efficiency. We can move 3 units. And so what I'm going to do is move the 2 corps to Bir Hakim. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this mech corps here on the flank. And now we're in range to fight the British. So the British are going to either need to take Tobruk now or be at the risk of being encircled. And I wonder if could I blitz. You know what? We're gonna blitz. We're actually, excuse me. We're gonna go ahead and blitz. It's not disrupted at all. We can actually attack. We're gonna blitz. Of course we're gonna blitz. So we could do both offensives simultaneously. I think that's what we're gonna go for. So OKW, what we're gonna do is kind of do prep work for this offensive operation. We actually don't need to do anything. It's really not necessary. Yeah, it's not necessary because we can use this field HQ to do all the heavy lifting for us when we launch our attack. So I'll go ahead and deactivate OKW. No need to activate it on this turn. Next turn, we want to focus on building up the HQ and preparing the offensive, which we will be able to achieve in a timely manner. So that's cool. Eastern Front, we already did all the operations on the Eastern Front. And now we're blitzing on the Western Front, basically being ambitious like Rommel. And unfortunately, we're going to have like serious supply problems. Or like we're going to have no combat support. And we're not going to really like be able to do anything more, but we basically have cut off the British. And like I say, our playthrough, we're kind of just playing the game. I wish I could show you like the most profoundly strategically sound decisions. These decisions are not even the most strategically sound, but I think it does create for some interesting gameplay. And the Axis scored no hits because of the double defense, but the British are right now cut off. So that's a big problem. The British are not going to be able to pull out of Tobruk. That's the main problem. So that's kind of an oof for the British. But it's going to take a while for the Axis to break through. So what do the British do? What can the British do? I think the only thing they can do is continue the attack at Tobruk and see if they can break through, because there's not really much else they can do. I think we're going to go ahead and activate this. Send a reinforcement forward. See if anything works in there. So let's see the Battle Tobruk. See how it goes. Scoring 1 hit, double defense, 2 hits. Scoring another 2 hits, so 3 hits altogether. It's the equivalent of one hit. So they made progress, but not enough to remedy this strategic situation. But they kind of have to keep pushing forward. Now what we're going to do with the British is we're going to pull out of Caen. Rather than face the brunt of a German counteroffensive, I think we should pull back. I mean, the British are really dug in deep. So I'm thinking maybe we give at least one round of combat and then see how it goes. And I think the British have favorable odds of winning the actual, you can call it a firefight, but it's really like, a series of firefights. Strategic exchange. And I think with that, we'll then withdraw, depending on how the battle goes. So yeah, British production. Let's go ahead and do that. Really nice production. 9 plus 12 is 21. That's 22 production points. Put up all these units here. I think the Soviets receive some production, don't they? 17 on the Western Front. That's 12. 16. Now for the Eastern Front production, or actually the German production in Italian. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 on the Mediterranean front. We're going to go ahead and save those for April. Because right now our field HQ costs 20 production points because it's using road supplies. So despite like the favorable position we have, putting pressure on the British, we have logistical problems, like I've said before. Now, here's another interesting move that the Axis can do. Rather than attacking Caen, we can double down on the Mediterranean front and launch an amphibious invasion and go for Alexandria. See, I think we're going to go for that. And we'll hold off the operation a little bit longer. Hold off a little bit longer on the situation in France. I mean, there's really no huge rush. The thing to consider, though, with the British is that if we can achieve another landing somewhere, even if we don't have amphibious supplies, it may increase the possibility that Vichy France joins the Allies. We're only going to roll on a die roll of 1 to get that. But I think it's an interesting possibility if for the British. But it looks like France is pretty well defended. There's not too many areas that we can take as the British. And the Eastern Front production still 80. We never used OKH. Go ahead and build up these 2 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, 10, 11, 12, like so. We never actually attacked Murmansk either. My goodness. Still scored no hits. Dang nabbit. Something to also consider is reinforcing Murmansk. Alright, Soviets are 53. Let's go ahead and build up our HQs still. 23 down to 20. Down to 14. Down to 4. Boom. Alright, so yeah, that's it for the Soviets. We could do more turns with the Soviets. I think it's time that we consider pulling back. Maybe establishing a new defensive line somewhere. Because, you know, the Germans are looking pretty strong. As much as I don't want to retreat, I think it seems like the wiser move to retreat. Or maybe we give it another turn. I mean, we have to see what the weather looks like too. And it is mud. So actually the Germans get to go first. This should be single fire. Alright, so now with OKH, yeah, let's transfer these German reinforcements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, like so. Nice. Just transferring more units to the front lines. So that's 2 strategic moves, or 4 strategic moves. We'll go ahead and advance to Dnieper. That's 5. And then the last one, ideally, this Romanian unit. I think we'll pull back this cavalry, or this infantry rather. Yep. Alright, that's it. And then we can now do operations on the Western Front. We're going to do an interesting operation here. Invasion. And then nothing there. But we're going to attack with this unit here. Now it is naval parity. I think it got repulsed. Amphibious assaults. Let's see here. Movement interdiction, invasions, naval parity, repulse on a 1 or 2. British roll 2 and they got a 1. So unfortunately the attempt by the Axis to land in Alexandria fails. and it was a long-range invasion, so it was technically a Blitz HQ. And yeah, the British Navy is able to hold the line, buy the British a bit more time, and the British definitely need that time. We're just gonna keep attacking because what else? What else can we do? I think we should maybe even attack this. No, that's too risky. I think we'll move this British unit in to contest, and then we're still gonna attack Tobruk. Let's see if we can break through. Ooh, nice. Scoring a hit. Ooh, for the heavy fighting. Very heavy fighting. Both sides sustain significant casualties. I think the Italian unit there is like 10,000 troops per step, while the British is like 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 4,000. So about the same amount of casualties. Nothing compared to the Eastern Front, of course. Oof, but we score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We score 5 more hits. Oh, wow. So that's actually enough to break through. Oh, they broke through. And just like that, the British actually turned the tide of the situation dramatically. And they actually even put the Axis out of supplies. What the fuck? All these units are out of supplies now. Well, I don't know why I hit it as the British. Wow, what a turn of events that was. Huh. I thought the Axis were for sure going to win that. Alright, so we'll switch to the Soviets. It's mud. I don't think the Soviets are going to do anything. Next 4 nights. Back to winter on the Eastern Front. The Soviets have the initiative. Do the Soviets want to do anything? I think we can definitely do a little bit. For example, we can attack here. Move this corps in there. Infantry here. Even though we lost Leningrad, I think we should still put some strategic pressure in the north. Maybe try to take it back. Like don't give up like immediately. Very vulnerable situation here in the south. Very, very, very vulnerable. Especially with when the weather becomes more favorable. So I'm gonna next turn is gonna be mud guaranteed, and I kind of want to have a full strength Stavka sooner rather than later. So as much as I want to use Stavka right now, I think we're gonna pass on the situation, and we don't have to worry about German attacks, at least not immediately. But it would be nice to maybe pull some units back, maybe do a few rotations. So I guess I'll activate this HQ. Do a few rotations. Pull back this the Second Army. Not sure where to move it. Probably have to just keep it back as far back as possible because it's not a very mobile unit. So I don't want to be caught out in the open. But yeah, just shift some units around. We could try attacking the Germans, but the Germans are dug in pretty nicely. And it's like we can't really afford. I mean, we can actually. No, the Germans can counterattack. Yeah, they could counterattack. I mean, they can still even attack even now. Maybe I should do nothing. I think I might be jumping the gun here. And maybe we just do nothing. I don't know. The wisest thing to do would be to attack. We only have 7 units though. So no, I think I'm just gonna do a slight transfer. Um, but the simple reality is that our situation is vulnerable, especially because of the last battle. So I don't know, you don't want to like buckle under the pressure, but like the strategic situation is clunky, to put it lightly. So we'll deactivate this HQ. Or this unit, yep, deactivate HQ. No more moves for the Soviets. That's it. Switch to the Axis. Situation in the south is pretty bad. Thankfully, we have OKW to kind of save the day, and we also have this Italian HQ, so we can do 4 supreme moves. And I think we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. So it's pretty good. Pretty good withdrawal. Establish a better defensive line. The British do have pursuit fire because they're the same speeds, and they score 3 freaking hits, presumably on the mech. So that unit's eliminated. So yeah, significant Axis casualties right now. May be that the North African campaign comes to an end pretty abruptly. We're going to switch now to the British. And I think the British now are going to go full out pursuit. Let's chase them down. I mean, what a maneuver. Truly, truly remarkable. Unsupported combat, let's see how these battles go. Axis score no hits. British score no hits. Yeah, I knew the British were going to score a hit here. No, I mean, the Axis are getting totally run down right now. Pretty bad situation for the Axis. We can now do production of April. I think I might stop the video here. My stamina is running pretty low. I would like to finish until like prepare for the summer period of 1942, but I think I might stop the video here, kind of in the conclusion of this British pursuit. The Battle of Tobruk, basically the Battle of Tobruk, was a total decisive British victory, I would say. Looks pretty decisive to me, seeing how, the Axis lost 2 corps in the process. British haven't suffered any casualties. So well done for the British. And the sooner they can take North Africa, the better. We can continue kind of offensive. So the Allies, I mean, this gives good hopes for just the kind of the Western Allied forces in their drive to take Fortress Europa. Yeah, so let's do British production. That's 1, 2, that's 11, 15. Very nice. 17 production on the west. We didn't do anything on the west. British have an abundance of production. Build 4. We have all the militia units are built up as well. So we have 3 extra. We're going to do another transfer. Switch over to Soviet production. And I think the Soviets actually get reinforcements. We didn't actually do Lend-Lease. So we'll do Lend-Lease now. And they get 5. They can only get a maximum of 5. So they're at 58 production. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. Now we're down to, what is that, 28. Now we're down to 22, 19. What is that, 16, 14. 12, 6, 4. Oh, we didn't do this battle here. Oh, airstrike first. Then the defenders roll, the attackers roll, no hits. All right, not bad. I'm going to put the Soviet tank armies in Tula. The idea is that sooner or later we can either match, I think right now we're matched, but we can overwhelm Army Group Center. And the idea is to push Army Group Center back and eventually take Smolensk. Even if it's not strategically significant in a resource sense, my understanding of how the Soviet army overwhelmed the German army on the Eastern Front was that they were focusing on geographical strategic locations. And so 1943 was the year that the Soviets turned the tide against the German army across the entire front, starting with the Battle of Kursk. And they basically, methodically broke down the German ability to wage war. And it's because the Soviets were able to build up and assemble a task force that had the material advantage and had sufficient quality of training and air power and artillery and so forth to overwhelm the enemy. Now, the Soviet army was still had a lot to learn in 1943, but they were able to achieve some kind of operational parity with their adversary, which was very, very competent, right? The Germans were able to not only launch ambitious operations offensively, but they were able to launch deadly counterattacks. That's what they were most famous for, and I believe it's there's a name for it. But I believe it's Kampfgruppen, which were these task force that were assembled, and they were kind of makeshift task force that were used at different scales. Sometimes they'd be a few divisions, other times they'd be a few corps, or they may be on the scale of entire panzer armies, which is what we saw in 1941 and 1942 with Barbarossa and Case Blue respectively. But as the war progressed, the German operations, these counterattacks, became smaller and smaller because the Soviets and the Allies both were able to kind of achieve this sort of inertial pressure along the entire front. And you can almost think of it like physics or chemistry, where it's almost like a hot front of air pushing against a cold front. Or maybe it's the other way around. I think cold fronts push against hot fronts. But the point is that you have this kind of like negative pressure or positive pressure, but you have a pressure, which is a force over area that basically is pushing against, one group of larger, a more dense collection of particles. So it would be a cold front, would push against a hot front because of the density difference. And you can almost think of it in a similar way as far as operations go. The Soviets were able to achieve more density along the front. And that is the way it's displayed in this game is that you've got the armies, the Soviet armies, like the 8th Army here or the shock armies, but then you have all these specialized corps that can support an army, right? So I learned all this from David Glantz, who's like the most, I believe he's the most famous Eastern Front, World War II Eastern Front historian. But the corps I'm speaking about are these units here: 4th, 8th, 7th, 11th, 9th. These are all actually armored corps, or mech corps perhaps. And then you've got also the 7th, the 6th, 5th, 2nd, 1st, 4th. These are all corps, and the corps are comprised of all kinds of different types of divisions. But they were basically support units to support a standard army. So an army that would attack would not only comprise of its rifle divisions, but it'll have a number of armored and mech corps to support as well. And so the Battle of Kursk, for example, part of the reason why the Soviets succeeded is because they had strong armies that had all these corps that supported, and that was also part of their reserves as well. And so that's a little different than the Soviet tank armies, which are these level 4 units. The tank armies are much more concentrated, presumably, but they're similar. They're similar in nature. And so the idea is that the way I'm going to play as the Soviets is that I'm going to focus on this kind of buildup of density and make it so that it is impossible for us to be not only driven back by the German army, but impossible for us to fail, right? Produce so much volume, we're too big to fail. And so that's the main strategy, and it's going to have to involve some kind of unit superiority, right? It's not enough to just match the German units in how many units we have. We need to actually stack up a number of units to actually have the numerical advantage. So that's what we're going to do. Focus, even though obviously, like, there's the resources in Ukraine are much more industrially rich than Moscow. I think it's very important that we gain a strategic initiative everywhere and anywhere along the front, and the Central Front is the most important one. This is the most important axis right now, and it's going to be my priority. But of course, the same applies to the Southern fronts as well. But for now, if we can achieve sort of like a stalemate, on the Southern Front and prioritize the Central Front, that's a win for me. But obviously, I want to be able to make gains along all fronts. And that's the main Soviet strategy, right, by Stavka. It's not just focus on one front, but focus on all fronts, so that eventually, when we have the advantage, we can overwhelm the German army along not just one front, but all the fronts. And in this way, we can overwhelm the German high command's ability to react. And I think that's kind of like the 1943 objective, right? And then transferring into 1944, I want to make sure that the Red Army is too big to fail. Because I've played this game before, and the Red Army was still getting battered as late as 1944, and I refused for that to happen. So we're going to see how it goes, because the German Army will try to attack while they still have the strategic initiative. And that's kind of what 1942 is all about. So anyways, that is it for Soviet production. I think I've spent everything. And now we'll do Axis production. Really interesting stuff, though. I find it very fascinating. It's kind of like the positive side of studying World War II. If there's any positive side about it, it's the way people were able to organize themselves. It's amazing. We're going to do the production. very, very, very good production on the Mediterranean front. 9, 19, 24, plus what we had earlier, which was 11. So that is 35. So I'll put up this HQ from 35 down to 25, then down to 20. And we need to build up this dead pile ASAP. I think all we can do is just build up this mech core again. That's it. This costs 18, I believe. Might actually cost less. No, it costs 18. And we have 2 left. I think we're gonna just toss that out. And then with 22 left, I think we're gonna focus on building up 2 HQs. And now I feel ready to launch the attack. On the Western Front, we got another Panzer Corps there too. We could wait a little bit longer and wait for that Panzer Corps to be built up. But I think an early attack, you know, I'd rather attack now than wait. Or maybe we wait. Maybe we give it 3 more months and then go all out with the Panzer Corps, 2 Panzer Corps, basically an entire Panzer army, and try to crush the British. Or we attack now and see how it goes, and while the British kind of have the defensive advantage. But I think we're going to wrap it up here. Eastern Front production, 80. We're now down to 50. I had a mech core up here, didn't I? Now we're down to 40. Oh wait, actually we're actually down to 30. Oh man, did I do that right? Yeah, I think now we're down to 30. I think the finish are in the Axis. Now we're down to 25. Put up one of these units here. There we go. That costs 16 there. Yeah. All right, so that's pretty good. We're looking pretty good on the Eastern Front. I mean, most of the German infantry corps at full strength. The Panzer Corps looking pretty strong as well. A lot of Panzer Corps are at full strength. I think I really want to, ideally maximize everything, including the Panzer Corps. But it's not, the utmost priority. But I think with this, we're going to stop here. It's going to be mud on the Eastern Front. But we've got a lot of activity on the Western Front as the Axis basically still retreat. The Africa Corps is on the run, and the British are chasing them down. We may have to either abandon Benghazi or fall back to Benghazi. I don't think we're going to be able to achieve a counteroffensive. I think the casualties are simply too big. We may not be able to save Benghazi, but we can at least establish a defensive line deeper in Libya. And buy time. I mean, there may be some critical battles still in Libya. But I think we're going to wrap up the video. Pretty interesting winter campaign. And the winter campaign is effectively over. Now we're in the spring thaw season on the Eastern Front, so it's a nice transition. No kind of super crazy German counterattacks. We did see a counterattack here, and it worked. Kind of like a, I was about to say naval parity, but it's kind of like army parity as far as the Southern Front goes, and the Central Front. more of a stalemate on the Central Front and just kind of a bit of a back and forth on the Southern Front, and a British initiative in North Africa. With also the prospects of a German offensive in France. So all pretty cool stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comments and questions down below. And I will see you guys in a future video as we continue to keep learning about World War II one day at a time. With that said, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're reaching your goals, your metas. And I will see you all in the next video. Do take care. Peace out.